the amount of cuts that we've already taken in our appropriations bill on labor, health, human services, education, NIH, Center for Disease Control. But I couldn't help but hear my friend from Pennsylvania talk about the president's budget as though that is controlling, as though that somehow, would the Republicans want to adopt everything in the president's budget? I don't think so. They might want to select this or that or this or that. But are we now hearing from my friends on the other side that we should just carte blanche, rubber stamp the president's budget? Well, I sure hope not. I would remind my friends that the Constitution of the United States clearly says that this body has two functions, taxing and spending. Not the president, not the executive branch. The executive branch can propose whatever budget they want. It's up to us to decide how both to collect the taxpayers' money and how to spend it. So it doesn't really matter to me exactly what the president proposes. What I want to know is, what do we collectively, as senators and as congressmen, how do we feel about where we should be investing our money and what we ought to be spending the taxpayers' money on? So that idea that somehow the president's budget says this or that, people can pick and choose whatever they want to about it. I just submit, again, I'll bet my friends on the other side will not say, we'll just adopt the president's budget as it is and we'll go with that. I don't think they're ready to do that. I wouldn't even do that myself, even for a president of my own party. But I wanted to just talk a second again about sort of the intransigence on the part of my friends on the Republican side, not only in this body, but in the other body, of not countenancing any other funding, raising of revenues. I keep hearing the speaker talk about, well, we gave revenues last month, $700 billion. Revenues last month. Now it's time to talk about spending cuts. Well, what the speaker has done is he's drawn an arbitrary starting line of January of 2013. What about last year and the year before, when we adopted over $1.4 trillion in spending cuts? That's already been adopted. What about the starting line there? That's when we really started to address the $4 trillion that we needed by 2020 to stabilize our debt. So we've come up with about $1.4 trillion in spending cuts and about $700 billion in revenue. So it's not the idea that we've already given up, that we've collected enough revenues. That's not it at all. Going forward, we need a balance between revenues and spending cuts. I just wanted to read some of the things that we've done in our own committee. Last year, $1.3 billion in cuts. We eliminated the education technology state grants, which a lot of people, by the way, kind of liked. Even Start program, eliminated. Tech prep education state grants, eliminated. Mentoring children of prisoners, eliminated. Foreign language assistance, eliminated. Civic education, eliminated. Alcohol abuse reduction program, eliminated. Career Pathways Innovation Fund, eliminated. Many of these programs were started by my friends on the Republican side sometime in the past. Some were started by Democrats. Most of them were jointly Republican and Democrat. What I'm pointing out is that we have already cut a lot of things out of health and human services, out of education, out of NIH, Center for Disease Control. I can tell you that Dr. Francis Collins, the head of NIH, warned that the sequester will slash another $1.6 billion from NIH's budget at a very time where we are on the cusp of really having some good breakthroughs in medical research. And a lot of medical researchers that have been lined up doing great programs out there, and all of a sudden they're going to have the rug pulled out from underneath them. But that's what's going to happen. Might I mention kids with disabilities and what's going to happen with the funding for IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act? Well, I'm told about 7,200 teachers, aides, and other staff that help our communities and our schools cope with kids with disabilities who come into schools, because under IDEA, we are providing that kind of support, but that's going to be cut. It's going to be cut. So I just you know, this idea that somehow we can just keep cutting and cutting and cutting and we're going to get to some magic land where we can continue to function as a society just isn't so. We need revenues. We need revenues. And that's what's in the bill that the majority leader has proposed, revenues that will help us to reach that point where we can have both spending cuts and revenues and to stabilize our debt at a reasonable percentage of our GDP.